Hi, Patrick here with Patrick Henry's Red Hill, helping to answer the question of who was Patrick Henry. Well, Patrick Henry was a family man. We had a few questions come in asking about Patrick Henry's family, so I figured a great place to start would be, let's just call this video Patrick Henry's Family by the Numbers. Patrick Henry was married 2 times. His first wife was Sarah Shelton, and his second wife was Dorothea Dandridge. Patrick married Sarah in 1754, and she passed away in 1775, literally just a few weeks before Patrick Henry gave the Liberty or Death speech. Sarah Shelton, Dorothea Dandridge. I never thought about this before. SSDD. Okay, that has nothing to do with Patrick Henry by the Numbers. Patrick and Sarah had their 6 children, 3 boys and 3 girls. About 2.5 years after Sarah's passing, it was during Patrick Henry's second term as the governor of Virginia, he married a woman by the name of Dorothea Dandridge. Now, Patrick and Dorothea would go on to have 11 children. So Patrick and Dorothea, 11, Patrick and Sarah, 6. That's where we get 17 children. Now, these 17 children would go off to have families and children of their own and produce 77 grandchildren. 77 grandchildren from 17 kids, 2 wives, all going back to Patrick Henry. Now, let's break down this 17 children a little bit farther. 13 of those children would grow up and have families of their own. They would get married and have children of their own. 9 of those 13 they would have families with multiple children. Okay, 4 of those 13 would grow up, get married, and they would have 1 child. So that's where we have 9, 4, that equals the 13. So we still have 4 others that we have to account for. Patrick and Sarah, as I mentioned, had their 6 children. They are 6 children. They had 3 boys, 3 girls. 2 of the boys, William and Edward. Edward would grow up and have the distinction of being the only Henry child to grow into adulthood but never get married. William would have the distinction of growing up and getting married but having no children. So that takes us up to 15. And then the last 2, we're going to talk for a moment about infant mortality rates. As you can imagine, in the 18th century, in the mid-1700s into late 1700s, the infant mortality rate was pretty high. So it is a pretty positive statistic when we tell you that out of Patrick Henry's 17 children, only 2 of them didn't make it out of childhood. They didn't make it out of small childhood. Richard lived to be about 17 months old. Then he passed away. And then the last of the Henry children, this was Jane Robertson. She was born about a year prior to Patrick Henry's passing away in 1799. Little Jane Robertson, she only lived to be about 4 days old, and it's believed that she's buried in the family cemetery somewhere in the vicinity of Patrick Henry, but unfortunately we do not know exactly where she was laid to rest. Little Jane is named for Patrick Henry's paternal grandmother over in Scotland, Jane Robertson. So there you have it, 17 children from 2 wives, producing a total of 77 grandchildren. And when Patrick passed away at the age of 63 in 1799, 11 of those children were still living at the time. So I hope that kind of gives you an overview of Patrick Henry by the numbers. I have another answer to a question, that was asked, and I appreciate this question. A viewer wanted to know, where do I fit into the Henry family? Going back to Patrick and Sarah, Patrick's first wife, the first child and the 5th child. So Martha was the oldest of Patrick and Sarah's children, and their 5th child was Elizabeth. Martha's grandson married Elizabeth's daughter. So Martha is my 5th great grandmother. Elizabeth, her sister, is my 4th great grandmother. Okay, so Martha's my 5th great grandmother. Elizabeth is my 4th great grandmother. Their parents, Patrick and Sarah, are both my 5th and my 6th great grandparents. So hopefully that answers your question. Thank you again for that. If you have further questions, please feel free to leave them in the comment box, and I will get to those as soon as I can. But I hope you're enjoying this video series and hope it's a benefit to you. Again, my name is Patrick with Patrick Henry's Red Hill, helping to answer the question, who was Patrick Henry? Thank you.